Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Boardroom Podcast, where we help you stay calm, change lives, and have business on your terms. Now, I have a special guest with me, Tikis. He is we've been working together for a long time, like a long ass time.
Yeah, years.
So Tikis
We've
is
only
like
met once.
anytime. Yeah, I know. Anytime I'm like getting ready to start a new project, I'm like, bro, I got to have you on this thing with me. So he's a guy that when it comes to marketing and lead gen, very few people do I actually like value their input, where he could tell me, I don't think this is going to work very well. And because our wavelength when it comes to like how we see things is very similar. I'm like, okay, cool. I trust your judgment. Or this has happened on several occasions where we look at the same data and essentially come to the same exact conclusion on what needs to be fixed based on what the numbers say. So I want to introduce you guys to Tikis. He oversees like our marketing strategy. He's co-founder of Blue Chip Media, and that's a media company that runs all of our paid ads, like everything top to bottom. So I wanted to bring him on and get you guys to really get to know him. The dude's an absolute wizard. He's fantastic when it comes to marketing and building out paid strategies to fill a funnel and fill a sales calendar. So, Tikis, I want to give them a little background on you. Why don't you just kind of share a little bit about you, and then we can dive into some of the stuff that we have on our agenda for today.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so basically been on the online space full time for the past 7 years. Owned a fitness company for the past 7 years. I've done six figures year after year. I've always been on the marketing side when it comes to fitness. So everything when it comes to marketing, branding, acquisition, stuff like that. So basically everything leading up to the sales call was kind of like my jam, what I felt was my comfort space and stuff like that. And then started working with you, with the coaching company that we were involved with, did all the marketing. So basically just really helped every client when it comes to anything acquisition related. Then obviously we started Blue Chip and just started really going after just any type of business on the online space, either coaches, consultants, business owners, and just really helping them with all that stuff. And now here with AI Setters, which part of that marketing here too as well. And just been that's just kind of my jam. That's what I enjoy. That's what gets the thing going. Like you start talking about sales calls, I'm like, I don't really care. You know what I mean? You start talking about fulfillment. Yeah, I don't really care either. Right. So everything just basically leading up to the sales call is kind of like my jam.
Yeah. And we've got a few things that we want to kind of unpack, because we both started with like fitness, and anyone who's built an online fitness business, I don't care who you are, right? That is the hardest market to crack.
It's tough.
Like, I don't care who you are. Like, you can be a fantastic marketer for a completely different offer. If you're trying to go from like that offer to like doing fitness, you're having to start all over. But the thing about it is it doesn't work in reverse. If you crack fitness and then you go into something else, you're like, holy shit, this is so easy. It's like taking candy from a baby. It doesn't even compare.
Yeah, that's funny because a lot of people they think going online, especially in fitness, like, oh yeah, I was a trainer in the gym, blah, blah, blah. And I could sell, I could do this. I know I can get clients, but then they come to online, they're like, holy crap, this is not as easy as I thought. I'm like, yeah, I know. It takes some time. Like there's a lot of moving parts that you may not know about, especially in the marketing space. Like how do you be different? Like how do you stand out? Like is your messaging right? There's a lot of just stuff because there is a lot of competition out when it comes to that, when it comes to things like that. You know what I mean?
And there's a lot of skill you got to fill in gap, because I know one of the things you want to dive into is like what makes a great acquisition system. And it's a lot of those things that you talked about that you just essentially brought up. There's several different steps that really make a really good acquisition system. And each step requires skill to really nail down, right? So the first one is like, you got to have like your audience, like who are you trying to get in front of? You got to know that very clear. And then you have to have great messaging to communicate to that audience. You need to have like a really good offer. Then you got to have branding. And then you got to have like a follow-up, like your sales funnel, and like how are you walking them down the steps to where they're willing to buy? How are you nurturing those leads? How are you positioning your offer, and all the different things that kind of go into that. So coming from like and making the transition, even going with me through those transitions, what have you noticed? Like, what are like the common patterns that you've seen between like all the different verticals where it's like, these are like tried and true principles that doesn't matter what vertical you're in. If you don't nail them, like it's not going to work.
Yeah, I would say like in the online space and like just in like just businesses in general in the online space, like the core principles of like the main structure of all of them, like it's pretty much the same, right? But what people get like wrong is the messaging aspect, right? So they might say like in an ad, they say this copy and then they go to like an opt-in page or whatever. And it's kind of like a little different. And then they go to the like, let's just say a VSL or like some other page or whatever. And it's just like completely different. They're just talking about different things just along the line. So the message is not aligned from when a person sees you to whatever the end goal is, if it's to book a call, etc. So I believe like that main thing needs to be congruent all the way through. Like, you don't know how many times we've seen brands and offers and stuff like that. They're like, so I'll take the fitness side, right? They might talk like gut health over here, and then they start talking about like plant-based over here. It's like, what? Like, this doesn't make no sense, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like completely off. I would say like that's the main thing, and exactly what do you want from what's the main outcome of this? Like, you got that stuff has to be in line. Don't worry about all the extra like shiny objects and this and that. Like, if you don't get like the basic principles down, you're going to fall every single time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And people put a lot of time into making their stuff look pretty, but the messaging sucks. Right? Where it's like,
yeah, you know me. I like stuff looking really pretty.
Yeah. But clarity of message trumps aesthetics any day of the week. Now, in this day and age, you kind of need both, whereas like you can have very clear messaging, but somebody else is going to have clear messaging too. And if their stuff looks more professional than yours, like the prophet is going to go with the one that looks like they have their shit together. Right. So the messaging is really, really important to nail down. What aspect of the messaging I'm thinking through is like really, really important to kind of get through. Whenever I'm thinking about like the messaging side of it, you've got to call out or communicate in a way where it makes it very clear who it's for, and then be able to describe the problem and the pain that the person that you're targeting is experiencing, like pretty vividly, clearly define the solution, and then have a very strong call to action. So like the headline really is going to be like the piece that ties it all together. All right. And that's like where I like to split test first, like that headline and making sure like what's getting people to click. And then if you can essentially echo that messaging throughout your entire page, throughout your entire sales process, now you've you've nailed you're beginning to lay the foundation of a very repeatable and consistent acquisition system.
I agree. And even if you don't really know about any of that, like just do a little research, do a little bit of market research, like ask like previous clients. Like, let's just say your ideal client is, I don't know, somebody going through menopause or something like that, right? So I just keep coming back to the fitness because it's just very easy to explain. Ask them what their pain point is. Just ask them questions that could help you bring that messaging of what she said into your marketing and stuff like that. Past sales calls, like people like don't look, listen to their past sales calls. There's a lot of stuff in your sales calls that you can bring on if that's the ideal client, if that's who you want to get in front of, and that they'll tell you your marketing like right there and then, like, yeah, I struggle with this is my pain point. Like, I do, like, help me with this. And like, oh, cool. All right. Well, let me just bring it over here, because they're telling you your marketing and your messaging. You're just not listening. You know what I mean?
100%. And if you can essentially, it starts with doing research. That's really it. Like it's the boring work where it's like, you're just taking a little time, just do a little research on your avatar and really understand like, what are their pain points? What are they struggling with? How are they describing the problems and challenges that they're having? All right. And you nail it, because I still have people to this day that'll go through our VSL, watch it, and then be like, man, like, I felt like you were speaking to me. And I'm like, you damn straight I am, because you're the person that I designed that entire thing for. Right. And you nail it when you get people on the phone and they're going through the entire process and they're like, man, like, this is a no-brainer. You're describing exactly what the challenges I've been facing are. And that's really what you want to go for. And you don't get that without doing a little research. Because for us, when we made the transition into launching Charlie, we had to do a lot of research on like, all right, well, what are people saying? How are they describing their pain points? And then I had to go through, and I went through thousands of conversations with former clients who went through like SBD, just to kind of see those patterns between when people were really successful. What were they doing? What did they nail down? And it all came down to messaging and their appointment setting, like their ability to like have really congruent conversations with their lead that turn them into sales calls. So what would you say is the biggest mistake people are making when it comes to like building out an acquisition system?
Just like what we touched base was the messaging, right? That's the main thing. And then I would say second is like, man, there's a lot of important things I would say. So I would say the most important is who the heck you want to get in front of? Like, what is like kind of like what's going to get you going? What do you want? Like, think of it as long term. Think of it like, it's not a short term type thing, because when you do these short term things, like, I don't know if I really want to do it. I'm kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Like, it doesn't last. You're just going to end up failing. So I would pick something that you're like, I don't like the word passionate about, right? Just something that just gets your juices rolling, right? Just something that gets you going, something that's just really
something that you're
forward.
Like interested in,
Yeah. You know what I mean? Because like I'm passionate about fitness. Exactly. I think it's more curiosity, and it's more of like, I really want to like take this little bitty thing and just like build it like a little baby, like just, nurture that person and then just get it to grow. Because like there's certain things I'm passionate about, but I'm like, I really never really want to build a business around it. You know what I mean? So just be something that you really would say, you know what, I really want to build it from the ground up, and I just want to see it succeed throughout the process. But I'm curious about it, like I'm interested about it, and I'm willing to put in the work and grind about it. I think that's kind of like the first thing first before like, let's start with acquisition, blah, 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 right? Because there is like, because I've done this, like I have seen somebody like top level in something, and I tried doing it. I'm like, oh my God, dude, I do not have no interest of working with this type of person at all. You know what I mean? And I'm just copying like that
uninformed
style.
Yeah, it's uninformed optimism. You're like, oh, this person's making a ton of money doing that. Let me go and check it out. Maybe I can get my feet wet. And then as you start to like understand that market and how much work goes into it, you're like, oh, this is a lot more work. And I honestly think that's really the number one mistake a lot of people make, is they grossly underestimate how much work it requires to make the acquisition system successful. Like how much work it actually takes to just even successfully launch an offer and get it going,
Yeah, and a lot of people are just not patient.
Yeah, 100%. Because people were like, oh, it's paid ads, so I spent like $20. I should have like 100 people reaching out to me wanting to throw their credit cards at me. Yeah.
You know how many conversations I've had about that. I spent this much. I'm like, that's like nothing. Just, you got to like expect to lose a few grand just to get some data back. And then, all right, what happened? Did the opt-in page convert? Were the ads converting? Were you booking calls? Was the follow-up good? How's your emails? Your follow-up emails, were they, are they the open rates? Are they clicking? Like, dude, there's just so much happening where people would just be like, oh, I'm gonna start an online business. Yeah. I'm just gonna spend some money and I'm gonna make all this money. I'm like, you've been listening to too many ads that promise you too many things. That's just not how it is.
Yeah, that's kind of like the era that we're in, where you have all these ridiculous promises from people who haven't really done the thing, and they're only making those promises to get a few bucks. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to ads, like if you're going to build a really good acquisition system, you need to do the research, do the pre-work, right? Be prepared to eat shit for what feels like an unreasonable length of time, and then view like the first couple, like $1,000 to $5,000 that you spend on ads. Like you just got to view that as like, you're just acquiring data, right? You're just getting enough data to understand, okay, what are the decisions that need to be made? What are the patterns? Like what's driving results, what's not? And ultimately you're investing in acquiring data and doing your initial market research. And then the next thing as well is having the right expectations. Right. So when we launch a new campaign, my expectation is like, I just need 20% of those leads to be like decent. So that means out of like 100 leads, I only need 20 of them to be like sellable, where we can get on a call with them and potentially close them. So if that's like the expectations, then you have to make sure the economics of what you're pitching and selling actually makes sense to be able to handle that. And that's why starting out, always recommend having a high ticket front end offer, because without it, the economics just don't make sense for the business.
Yeah, that's a great point that you brought up, the high ticket, because everybody always, I just don't want to do sales calls. I don't want to like do fulfillment. I just want people to just buy my stuff on the internet and just, put the credit card and buy it now. Good luck, man. Like, I know you've probably seen it. You've probably seen it from big guys, or you've seen it from people that's just been in the grind. They've probably mastered high ticket first, and then they're eventually going to low ticket to try to like liquidate ad spend and all this stuff. But the amount of work you need to put in a low ticket offer is like triple compared to you doing a high ticket, even though the high ticket costs a lot more than a $27 program, right? People think it's the opposite, right? And heck no, it's the other way around, right? It's a lot of work. Both sides are a lot of work in general.
It requires more skill.
Sugarcoat it. It just requires a lot more skill. You have to be a really good marketer. You got to just really understand it. You know what I mean? That's just a lot of that goes into that type.
Because if you think about it, if you're sitting down looking at the different sales pages, right? A sales page for a high ticket offer that gets you on a call compared to one that's selling a $27 product, it is so long. The copy on the $27 product is like, it's like you're scrolling through forever versus like the $50,000 product is like a video and a button to submit an application.
It's literally
right.
It's like video, button, some social proof, a headline. That's it. You go to a low ticket. This thing is like forever. You just scroll it. And if you get somebody to actually like read it, and if you're just off in a section and you lose them, they're like, this is not for me. Never mind. So you find so much work. And if you just don't have really good copy or just a really good copywriter to write the damn thing or whatever, man, you're going to fall on your face and it's just going to be like, oh crap. You know what I mean? So definitely the high ticket space first before the low ticket space.
Yeah. And then the high ticket, once you get that going, you'll have like the cash to invest into having professionals build out your sales pages for your low ticket and things like that. Cause it does require a lot of work. It requires a lot of time, a lot more upfront effort versus the high ticket route. You can essentially, you're doing the work on the back end, right? The rest of the work comes off like getting on the phone with people, being able to persuade them, learning how to handle objections, and those types of things. Whereas like the low ticket requires more of that work up front. But if you nail it right now, it's just like, okay, how much money can this print? Right. So it's like picking your battles and deciding like where you want to really like, which battle you want to fight. I'd rather go the high ticket route and have more opportunities to get on a call with people and then essentially liquidate all the ad spend all the money I invested into ads with one sale versus the low ticket. You're putting a lot more effort up front just to get the damn thing up and running. And then you're spending a lot more money to test and see what works. And then when you finally make a sale, you have to make like 100 more just to break even versus
just to break even.
High ticket. You can afford to like burn a lot of leads. You just need one deal to come through and then you're good. Like you recently had that with Supermom, right? You had a bunch of calls being booked and you had a sell and you're like, oh, that one sale liquidated
my ad spend.
Exactly. So
yeah, we just restarted that brand. Really yeah, we just restarted the brand.
Exactly. How long were you running it before the first sale went? We're having a bit of a delay. We're having a lag issue. I said, how long were you running the ads before the sale came through, and how much money was spent on that?
Yeah, so the ad spend, we spent about $743 or something like that, and then the sale came in for $1,000, paid in full. But what I wanted to do with this rebrand, restart type deal is I wanted to learn from all my past failures. Right. When I did run the fitness business, because we did take a year off, I wanted what happened before. So I looked at everything before. What happened from other people's that I was seeing. And then I just put it all together. I'm like, all right, I'm going to try to avoid as many mistakes as possible. And I'm willing to just like grind it out and just take the long road. Right. And obviously doing the marketing for AI center stuff and being in this, I have to work on this kind of like after, kind of like not in between these hours. So I've been staying up to like 11 p.m., rewriting emails, rewriting the copy, testing different angles that I didn't do before. Like I don't want to do anything related to FB Messenger or IG DM ads. Like I do not want to be in that realm. Because when I look at the big boys, majority of them don't do that. Right. So I'm like,
Yep.
Okay, well, that means I got to do an opt-in page, and then there's SMS marketing that I got to put, to do. We got Charlie with the SMS marketing. Fantastic, by the way. He's crushing it. And then we have, okay, the emails have to be, so do I do more of like that emotional type, talking about pain points, or do I give them value? What worked before? That emotional stuff didn't work. It didn't book me any calls. So I go, okay, well, I got to flip it. Let's do very actionable type. Hey, I could take this and actually use it right away, and maybe I can get the results. So I'm like, all right, let's do that. Then there's a blog. And now there's a website being built. Like, dude, I'm willing not to make money for months because I want to build it out, because the end goal is like a much bigger thing than I need some money right now because I invested $1,000 in ads. Like, nah, I'm not doing that anymore. It's like, I'm willing to lose cash if I get some sales along the way. And I think obviously we will, just because we've been in that space and we have our skill sets there. Like, cool. Like, as long as I break even, that's like kind of my goal with the ads. Exactly. Same thing with AI setters. Like, man, we're probably going to need some crap. But I know the end of mine, it's going to be a bigger picture. So that makes sense. And it's a lot of work. I'm like, dude, did I really want to restart this again? So I'm staying up late.
Yeah, and that's the thing that people kind of have to legitimately kind of think through and count the costs. Like, what is it going to require, or how much effort is going to take? And then are you willing to pay that price to get to where you want to be? And you're right, like as far as being able to lead with value, before you could just focus on emotions and, try and get people on. Now people want to know if do you actually know what you're talking about? And the easiest way to do it is by delivering value ahead of time. Like if they implement something that you share in an email and they're like, oh, wow, like I actually feel really good doing that. Now they're like, now you're building that know, like, and trust. And now they're like, okay, well, if what they've been telling me so far has actually been working, I wonder if this is how good their free stuff is. I wonder how good their paid stuff is. Right. Exactly. And that's the thing I'm seeing over and over again is like, you have to, and we all know this, like if you're listening, you probably know that you have to deliver value ahead of time, but you actually have to deliver value ahead of time. Right. And so for me, like whenever building out and thinking through how I'm setting up the acquisition system and even like all the different messaging within it, I just want people to have a sneaky suspicion that I might know what the hell I'm talking about. Right. Like that's what you really want. You want people to feel like, I think this guy knows something that I might not, and have them feel like you just might be able to help them. Right. So top of funnel marketing is building that curiosity and be like, I feel like this person might know what they're talking about, and I think they might be able to help. And then the middle of funnel marketing is just reinforcing that and actually delivering value and letting them know, like showing them all the different ways that you are helping them. Right. By actually helping them ahead of time. And then once you've built enough trust in your brand and expertise, trust in your company, trust in your programs, then that eventually turns into sales. And it's like everything that we're doing has to build those 3 levels of trust, because once each level is 10 out of 10, the person's going to buy.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that, going back to that point is majority of business owners in the online space, they're going for that like 3%, right? They go, I want somebody to book a call and buy now. Like, cool. It will happen. Like it happens all the time. But the amount of people that you're just not really paying attention to because they didn't take that first action because they wanted a solution to the problem like right away, dude, you're losing out on a lot. And that is kind of like a big thing that was a mistake, back then for me, is like this time around, right? This is another reason why I don't want to do FB Messenger ads or IG ads. Like if you're making a killing off it, by all means, don't stop what you're doing. That's like marketing 101. Whatever's working, you stay there and you test other angles.
Making a killing off of it. Yeah. Even if you're making a killing off of it, because it's FB, I know for a fact, I can tell you if you're running Facebook DM or Instagram DM ads, I can tell you what you're experiencing right now. 1 month will be great. And then the next month will be a goose egg. 1 week will be awesome. And then the next week will be like, what the hell is going on? Like you have absolutely no control over the quality whatsoever. It's extremely volatile. So what that means is like, if you're running those kind of campaigns, your business model needs to be airtight. Like you don't have a lot of room for error because you don't control that asset list. And if Facebook shuts you down, which we have experienced several times, you're shit out of luck,
Exactly. So not only the shutdown. Oh, good.
I was just going to say, but like I've opted to essentially do what you're doing and build out your asset list, driving people to either lead forms or landing page opt-ins to where you're building your asset list and building the list of people that you can retarget and nurture over time. And actually you're investing in training Facebook's algorithm to find the people that are going to take the action deeper in your funnel.
Exactly. That is that. I mean, there's with IG FB Messenger, you're tied to Facebook. Like, bro, they own you by the balls. Like, if you got 24 hours, if you don't do anything with that lead inside your messenger, then you're pretty much done, right? Or you can't really control the quality. I've done a million targetings, try to be unique with it. I'm like, oh God, I can't get this damn. I mean, it makes sense. You want Facebook to find you people that just want to message you all day. Like you can't really optimize for certain events or anything like that. And then you don't get the name. I mean, you don't get the email. You don't get the phone number. You can't do follow-ups with your emails. You can't do any SMS marketing, any like reactivation plays. What if you do like some type of promotion? You can't really do that, right? Because you don't own the asset of that person, right? Like you can really control the quality because you can get like certain like third party, tracking software. You can optimize for like lower down the funnel. Like let's say I want to optimize for purchases. Well, Facebook, find people that want to buy stuff. Like, you can't really do that with the other stuff. And then people always say, well, email doesn't work. Well, it does work. It's just your emails don't work. You know what I mean? And it takes time, to really build out that stuff. Like what's the angle you're doing with it? Look at opt-in rates. Like, are they clicking on it? Are they reading it? Is the email even, or the blog, whatever you're sending people to, is it resonating with them? If it doesn't, okay, we'll take that off the sequence and try another one. Run it and get their people through. And eventually, just like how you said with FB Messenger, like 1 week is good, 1 month is good, and then it just eats the shit, whatever. Whereas if you really pay attention, get the assets and really just like really monitor it. And once you have it like dialed in, like it's done. It's kind of like set. Well, instead of you hoping and try to get a booking on right when they opt in, well, they can probably, opt in on day 28, book a call at day 14 or whatever. But now it starts to snowball. Once you get a lot of volume through there, all right, well, bookings are kind of like, they're happening like on the, like a flywheel now. Whereas, man, I'm trying to get that 3% right now. I'm trying to get them to book like ASAP. I'm like, oh, man, that's a tough business model to run, but by all means, do your thing, man. But I'm just trying to avoid all that crap that I did before and just totally different. Takes a little bit of time, but it's the light at the end of the tunnel is a lot better than what you're seeing now. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah. That makes sense. That makes a ton of sense. So as far as like that goes, I think when it comes to building out the acquisition system, like having a long-term outlook on the audience that you're building and really looking to set it up in a way where, there are going to be those maybe 3 to 10% of them who are ready, who already know they need help. And you just have to check off a few boxes and they're going to make the decision in less than a week. But most of them are going to take their time, like want to observe you. They want you to deliver more value. They're still deciding if they can trust you or not, and if you're good at what you do and if you can deliver the results to them, right? Those are where your money is going to be. And having a system that allows you to nurture those people ongoing, especially with the advancement of AI, there's no excuse. Right. There's no excuse to be sending your list good emails every single day. Right. Like you can generate really good with AI and there's no excuse for you to not be creating content to nurture your list daily, because you can start training an AI to generate those content ideas, iterate with it. And then you're just essentially putting the finishing touches on it and then getting it out to your audience. So there's really no excuses. The fortune's going to go to the people who are the patient and willing to put in the work and execute consistently. That's
I agree.
It. Well, we're pretty much out of time. I mean, I know we wanted to dive into kind of like what's important with brands now that let's say didn't work like 5 or 7 years ago. And then we also wanted to go into what a conversation funnel is and the benefits of that. So that's gonna be a little Easter egg for you guys who are listening, and we'll essentially cover that in the next episode. So tune in. If you find this helpful and you just enjoy hearing us just kind of jam on marketing and acquisition, go ahead and leave us a comment and share and subscribe. We'll catch you in the next one.